Yeah, good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Carol Matibula saying hi, 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 guys. I'm gonna keep on doing this broadcasting of mine because I'm passionate at this moment with the research that I'm doing around this so-called racism, and it is subject that I have suddenly hold so dearly to me because it puzzles me. I am confused. I'm trying to understand what actually has been happening on this planet, and how does it affect me as a person? And realizing, so every day I do a research and I analyze and I feel the fact that I'm from Africa, residing in Europe. There's lots of things that I'm questioning myself. And since this, of course, for years I've been questioning, as I've said to you guys yesterday. But now I'm getting more and more in depth of this so-called racism, you know. And today I thought to myself, as I'm feeling it and experiencing it on a daily, I'm realizing there are a few things that we have to be very aware of: systematical mental illness. This is what I'm talking about. And this occurs to every one of us. Every human being struggle with this systematical, arranged mental illness. Now, as a person who's very, very interested in putting, seeing the world together as one harmony, as one place where we all are, celebrating life freely with no disturbance, but really using the energy that we are given. Because of as human beings, we have an energy that can really help us to navigate this world so freely, where we can really be able to celebrate life. And our energy differ. So each and every one of us has a certain kind of level of energy. Some of us we've got a low energy, but that energy works for certain things. Some of us we have a medium energy level, and it serves. And some of us we have the high energy, and some of us we have the extreme high energy. If we can start really understanding each other's movement on how do we work, how do we think, so that we can be able to create a system that can defend us all, that can give us a sense of peace in this world, this will be a better place to live in. But the problem is that we're living in a world where it's designed by people probably with low energy level, thinking that they've got a high energy level, and they are destroying the order of earth. And the destroyness of the order of earth comes in different forms. Racism of hatred, it's a very minor thing. If someone meets you and they call you a nigger, that is really, really not something really big. They are angry, they are angry long before you even come. Yeah, they are dealing with their constitutional mental imbalance. And that's why it's easy for them to call you names, because of they are always surrounded by names. Immediately I start calling you names. I'm every day calling people names. It's not only you. So I'm going to line up this racism how I feel it. And it's important to understand, because I have been trying to understand what is racism. We all talk about it. We all talk about racism. We feel it. And myself, I've been very lost with this racism, because there were moments where I came to Europe and I just wanted to be a part of this community, and I did my best to really want to be the essence of the creativity of the community, to be a part of the creative side of the community in my spirituality, understanding health and well-being, being so conscious with mindfulness and all that. So that was and I was really, 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 really looking forward in me coming into Europe and saying, guys, this is how we do it in Africa. How do you do it in Europe? And I remember when I first came here, I was so happy. And I was not here because that's also something. Let me continue. I'll tell you how I have observed all this thing. And at the end of the day, it's a madness. It really, really keeps the world seemingly connected, but yet it keeps the world very lonely and sad. So, entering Europe, with my technique that I learned from Africa, I hook up with sisters from one sister to another because of course they were very very intrigued by my knowledge, which I find very interesting. And I was so happy that wow, I'm interacting, I'm going around, I'm interacting. Now, one day, after many years of traveling around Europe, from one country to another, from France to Germany, from Germany to Holland, from Holland to to Belgium, from Belgium to Austria, from Austria to Italy. I was just moving everywhere and teaching women the method of how to heal body, mind, and soul using my ancestral knowledge, my ancestral methodology of how to deal with the body in its essence. Now, traveling around doing what I did and trying to engage, but what I noticed as this was going along, I noticed that people were very interested in what I had to offer, but people were not interested in me as such. And it took me some time to realize this, that they will come and I'll teach and give the best I could. But when I'm finished, and my whole idea though as well was I'm just trying to tell you how I experience this systematical mental illness. I call it, and I'm not going to call it racism, because if I call it racism, it is something that it's very easy to be denied, or is it something very easily to be looked at and say, here they are complaining again with racism, or with the racism, or here they are complaining again with white supremacy. For me, this it's not it. And the more I go into it, and research it, and I realize that there's a pattern here, and this pattern affects everyone. It even affects those who are in it themselves, which is other white people. They get affected by this systematically mental imbalance. It is there. So we have our own systematical mental imbalance as Black people. So having to notice this, that people were they would come in, 10 women, and then everybody would greet me, and immediately they will then move away and create this sisterhood corner where they all engage, and me, I'm sitting there, and everybody's waiting for my presentation to take place. And then I will do this presentation, and I'm not saying that it was negative, but it was just something that I saw, that connections were not created deeply, because my whole idea was, share your knowledge. And I want to have partners. If I could have a European partner in this, that we work together. I'm from Africa. I'm from South Africa, and I'm into Europe. So it was, for me, in my mind, it was creating relationships as an African with Europeans. But as time went by, I realized that people only wanted to get what I was teaching. And some of them, they got it for years because of it was very interesting. But in terms of me working with them, it felt as if you can't. We want what you have, and we want to go and be the voices of it bigger. Because of course, what happened, if somebody would create, if like, for example, if I had dates, and then I call a white sister and say, these are the dates, and we are going to be presenting Voncoa on the date, da 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 da. And the sister will immediately advertise it, and because of it was advertised and screamed out by a white sister, other people would come in because of they would feel safe because of she's in. But then what I then immediately saw, I saw it creating this power struggle, whereby they felt like, we've got the people and you've got a technique. So because of we've got the people and you've got a technique, you are vulnerable towards the people that we bring. And it was something, I don't know how to put it. It was something that made me feel very lonely, made me feel like, you have what we need, and we're going to get what you have, but We are not connected with you, and we will never be connected with you. And this made me feel, hmm, it made me feel, slowly and slowly, gave me a feeling that I need to retreat. I felt slowly and slowly having this essence of, I don't know if I want to give this, because of, I didn't only want to come where people just take and there's no deeper connection. And maybe someone might think that, Carol, probably probably you're complaining you didn't see. For me, I never did things for money. I wanted to create relations, long-term relationships. And so this became a very, very interesting observation, because wherever I went, everybody will gather together because of they had something in common. And I was this African woman who was giving these beautiful workshops, and even when people came, and they always had this voice, this sense of, um, say thank, we chose you. And it's something that I can't explain, because through that, I immediately, slowly and slowly, started protecting myself and saying to myself, now, what is the need of me giving something when these people don't want to give anything? They don't want to interact with me. They don't see me. Sometimes I would put women together, because of their I would select them by feeling that, you know what, I feel like I'm more resonating with her strength. And because of I resonate with her strength, I also know a European sister who's very strong. So if I can put these sisters together plus me and create this strong power woman empowering circle, and immediately you then put them together, as they come together, immediately you are pushed aside while your intentions were to work together. So for me, racism, it's not really a racism in anger and names. Call me a monkey any day. Any day you can call me a monkey. I'm okay with it, because monkeys are the closest thing to me. If I look at a monkey, I see a lot of me in it. It has the same eyes, it has hands, it reacts, it has the same facial expressions that I give as a human being. If you call me Kefa, that's okay. But the worst thing for me, it is this feeling of charitiness, whereby you get to Europe, you are so driven, you want to work, you want to share, you want to navigate the world freely with your sisters and brothers, and you look at them like that. But the European mindset of education, which I call it systematical mental illness, they are brought up to believe that they are the powerhouse. It does not matter who, it does not matter the standard of energy, it does not matter the standard of knowledge. Immediately, as a black person, you come in, you already immediately minimize to a certain degree. And this is it. I'm not talking about when you are successfully financially stable, because life, it's not only about finances. And that I felt over and over and over again, but I couldn't place it. I felt it. And suddenly I started traveling these countries, and I decided, and I said to myself, okay, Carol, they want only your technique. Give your technique. But it was hard for me, though, because of what I wanted was to study the world. It was to study how the world thought, It was to study how they saw health and well-being in their own way. That's why I wanted to become partners, so that I can showcase my art and my capacity as an African, and then they can share their capacity. And the only story that I always had when I was doing this, you want money from us. You want money from us. Well, and what do you want? And it was always about, you want money, not realizing, not even knowing that maybe you do have money. And so there's this problem of the West, and this I'm saying, and this is something that you can judge me about, or you can think, Carol, she's so judgmental, but this is my observation. I think the Western world thinks that they're the only one who has in this world, and this is it. And when you come into their space with knowledge, say, thank God we have opened the doors for you. Because if we do not open the doors, doors are shattered. And from that point on, they are working on, and this now on the financial state of things. I'm talking about where we survive, because human beings, we need to survive. Lions needs to survive, everything needs to survive. So in a human survival, white people, they have taken the stand of, we are the masters of everything, and everybody had willingly accepted that. So myself, when I came in and I realized, okay, this is how things work. So Carol, work on the system that you just give. But even then, you feel like you're not accepted. So for me, it's being able to accept one another as we are. It's not about racism. It's not about the words you call me. It's not about the anger you show me when I go to your shops, believing that you have to treat me in a certain way because of you think that you better than I, because of the systematical mental illness that it's embedded within the white system. But also there's a system, though, the black mental systematical mental illness, where we are brought up to believe that white people are better. You understand? And this is not only a white man's story, it's also our story. And so over the years, I have struggled with this. I've struggled myself. How am I gonna go out there? I love the West. That's why when I wanted to learn the world, I came to the West. I came to Europe, because of Europe was more a place where I felt like I resonate with them more than I could have went to China, but I didn't feel the need for China. I could have went to India. I didn't feel the need for India because of my spirit resonated more with the European spirit. And so today, I think having to look at what's going on now with the Black Lives Matters and all the subjects and all the black people now, it's like it's a war. It's kind of suddenly becomes a racial war. And I say to myself, that's also chasing after a wind. When you feel that you are a powerful being, and forcefully powerful being, and with religion as well, that we are brought up to believe that we had to learn about Jesus Christ, this blue-eyed personnel, and reading about the white angels and all these things with blonde hair and all these things. We, the black people, that's our systematical dilemma. That's our systematical illness. And so when you talk about Black Lives Matters, we need to think what we are talking about. We have to understand that racism has different four elements of it, and it's a systematic plan that it's designed to move and navigate towards. And each and every one of us, even the baby who's born today, she's going to be she's going to be trained towards these systems. First systems, it's the angry ones. You find them in white system, you find them in black system, you find them in Indian system, you find them everywhere. These are the people who even their faces, when you look at them, even walking from far away, you can see that they are angry. They are very, very angry. And what they will come, those are the people who are not afraid to charge. Those are the people who are not afraid to come to you and tell you that you're a nigger. You don't belong here. Go back to Africa. They will say things because of that's what they meditate upon. That's their racial structure that they have studied. And you, as a person, you meet them and you have to deal with that anger. And you realize that actually, when you look at their face, that mask, it's something that it's a face that they've chosen. So when someone comes to you and say, you nigger, they know that they want to trigger you. They want to trigger that disformed face. When they see you that you're balanced and you are strong, they know what to trigger, and they know people that they trigger. A person who calls people niggers does not just call any black person nigger. They know exactly which ones to challenge, because of the ones that they challenge are the ones who has the same frame of mind like them. If you say nigger to me and suddenly I get angry and they say, who are you calling a nigger? Or they call me a monkey and I react. I myself, if let's say, for example, if I meet somebody like that, I wouldn't really mind if somebody called me a monkey at all. A monkey is an animal. If I mind that somebody has called me a monkey, and I get angry, and I go out there, even if someone can make a face of me and turn it into a monkey, I wouldn't really get offended at all, because if I'm not meditating on that level. So racism has levels. And then another one, which is also aggression, it's the one where everybody stay calm, but inside they tolerate. And this toleration of them to tolerate you, it depends on where you're at and who you're surrounded with. For example, I've never been called names, because they know whatever name that they're going to call me, and it's all about energy, guys. What I'm talking about today is that everything that is systematic has an energy, has a life, and it's seeable, it has a face. So if somebody comes to you and say you're a nigger, they have already looked at your skeleton, how quickly you will charge, and in no time they've got you. Second one, it is when you feel proud as a black person, and you are content with who you are. They know it, that if they call your name, it wouldn't affect you. But then they do things in, okay, you look like you are confident, you look like you're aware. Now what we are going to do, we're going to serve you, but we're going to showcase that we've got capacity in serving you less. And this I always experience. For example, if you go to the shop, any shop, wherever I've been, it's either the United Kingdom, Belgium, Holland, but I'll talk more about South Africa, United Kingdom, and Belgium, because these are the countries that I have lived in. Now, in Belgium, my racism frame of mind or framework is that if I go to shops, wherever I go, they deny me. It might be that we are standing in a queue and there's a man there. I'm going to talk about now because of it's easier to give you an example. And you go to the shop, everybody gets a trolley, and then the trolley is cleaned, and everybody. Now, when it gets to your side, the trolley does not get cleaned, and the person does not even notice you. They stand there, and from that they already are charged. From the moment it's your turn, what you see them charging, and as they charge, you ask, so what about, where's my, because you get confused, because remember, you have seen this pattern that they do as you enter this, so you're expecting to get the same treatment, and they don't do it. And then at that moment, it's really, really trying to take that frame that you're having, the frame of you saying, I'm okay in this world. They try to minimize it. And I always get that. So what I do over the past hours, it always made me so angry. It made me so angry and say, why do you treat me like that? And I realize it's a secondary systematic of mental illness. You are not one of us, and we will make sure that you're aware. It does not matter how proud you look. It does not matter how well presentable you are. You are still a zero. And that you have to understand as a Black person, it's an act. And this is what I'm studying as I'm going along with this Black Lives Matter, with what we are dealing with. We are dealing with systematical illness. And once you realize that it's a systematical illness, has nothing to do with color, has something to do with people's spirit, how people present their spirit in the world, or how people present their spirit to you, in front of you. So what I then do in that matter, I always have my stuff in my bag where I can clean my own trolley. That when that happens, it does not affect me. I just go, or sometimes I even say to them, brother, it will be nice if you can do your service well, so that we are all enjoying life. And then I walk by just to make them aware that I'm aware of this. But now it does not affect me no more because what I'm studying, I'm not busy with racism no more. Because of I'm spiritual, I'm aware. I am busy with the mindset. I'm busy with the spirituality of these actions. Where do they come from? And everything has an action. Action, with action, there comes respond. So every action that everybody does, they are waiting for the respond. Now, the problem for us, we Black people, in this systematical mental illness, we always respond. And I myself, I'm struggling at this moment. How can I learn this deeds of the day? And how do I free myself from these acts, deeds of the day, such as my freedom that I have in name callings? Name callings don't affect me even a bit. You can call me anything you want, as long as it suits you. Now, because of I'm so confident with alphabetical and wording, words don't affect me because I know words can be powerful, but yet words can be empty. Now, I am struggling with the sense of being minimized. Now, this is something very big for me that I have just discovered. And it's something that's going to take me to free myself as I free myself to words. And I think this has something to do with what does being minimized mean to me? What is that? So every action of racism, you also have to do your own self reflect, self understand your own hidden trigger points where you get triggered. And I think I get triggered because being born in South Africa and South Africa being a country that it is, I think I always wondered why others have more and why others have less. And having to question this, I always felt as if we were in the less. That's why when someone in this racial acts and deeds of the day, when someone trigger my point of having less, affects me because I have to deal with my own mental, structural mental illness about having and not having. Because the moment a white person makes me feel like you don't have, we have, that affects me because it has always been something that have always affected me. But today, having to talk about it and verbalizing it so well, I'm getting to understand that actually racism is completely nonsense. Does not exist. We give it power. And we give it power by, if someone calls you names, you have all you are already named something. You are probably you always felt like I was named other names. I always has been giving nicknames. So if someone give me racial nicknames, I get triggered immediately. Whereby on my side, if somebody called me names, they haven't done it, and which is amazing. I'm 49 now. Next year going to 50. I realized that nobody has really given me any names, but people have made me feel like I have less. Because why? I have that energy in me. Do you see? So we need to study racism. And racism, we can only study it by we reframing our reaction to it, uh, as reframing how we think about ourselves. And I don't know if it's only my story, but I think most of us, we are struggling with the fact that we think that the Western world has more, and because of the Western world has more, we believe that the Western world can share. Now, today I feel completely different with this, and the more I'm studying it, the more I'm realizing that I need to find strength and capacity and power to watch the act of the one who's making me feel less in their shop. Even though you're going to pay the same amount as everyone pays, you are always looked at as we are doing you a favor to take your money in our hands. We are doing you a favor for you to come buy in. And they forget that they are running businesses. Now, instead of me taking it into myself, I have to realize that there's a stupidity there. Because if you're running a business and I come support you. I choose your shop more than any other shops. I chose to be there. And in your little world, you think that you're doing me a favor. So what do? I have to find a way myself to realize that where I choose, if it does not serve me, I don't go there next time. And I just really let it go. And that has been my problem. That has been my problem over the years to and even now as I'm talking to you right now, my problem and my struggle has been, do not think that you have over me. Do not think, do not even present that in my face that you have more than me. And also with this thing there, and this is the biggest for me, huh? Now I'm talking about the layers of racism, how it affects us. When you believe that other people have more than you and you believe it subconsciously, they're going to act in that way to you. You know, you've got this Red Cross in South Africa. When I was young, people used to talk about, second-hand clothes that coming from Europe, Europe serving the dying Africa. You know, Europe always coming to give financials to the business youth of Africa, because youth of Africa can never survive without the financial systems of the Western world. You know, so there are lots of things around have and not have. How do we kill the madness of systematical system of have and not have? What does that mean? And my analyzation today is, there is nobody who have. If you do not have a sense of you seeing one as sharing the same spirit, you were born, you came from a sperm, and you had to shoot to the uterus and become a winner to enter to that sperm so that you can be the human that you are today. And you replace that with a paper, which is mummified trees that are killed so we can have a paper in our hands. And somebody makes you feel as if you do not have, because they are holding more papers of mummified trees in their hands. And you then diminish yourself. Isn't this high time that we realize that we're actually very powerful, either with material world or not? And this is the biggest challenge for me. So that's a racism side that I'm dealing with. And I'm dealing with this on a daily basis. Now, having to live in Europe for 18 years, this has been always my struggle. People knowing my strength, people knowing my power, people knowing my capacity and my capabilities, but believing that they are giving me. And I felt like I felt as if I was, how do you say it? I was My intelligence was insulted, and I always felt that I'm insulted, I'm insulted, I'm insulted. And today I just want to say that's a secondary of racism. I need to find a way when someone think that I don't have, they have more, or someone think that, Carol, we help you, and they want to help me in a way that know your place. You are designed to not have. You are designed for me to give you a sense of uh, achievement. You are designed for me to give you a sense of belonging. You are designed for me to give you the power to have a food in your plate. You are designed for me to give you education and information. You are designed for you to live under the umbrella of my creativity, and realizing that as African people, we've got lots of creativity in this world, and we have done a bigger part in with our creativity. Now, the fact that we have been hypnotized to believe that somebody gives us more, that's a systematically illness of racism, and that's a systematically mental illness of the African people, believing that. Also, this thing, there are lots of things that I hear today with the Black community. One is they don't give us job. They don't give us jobs. When you go look for a job, a white man or a white woman would get job before you. Why do they have to give us jobs? The moment we can work on that mentality, that's when the freedom of have and not have would arise into equal balance. When someone say they need to do reparations for what they have done with slavery, still I say no, because we still take them as the fathers, the mothers who have, and they have to repair our moving forward with their mummified trees. So I think today with racism, with this racism thing, Black Lives Matters and all this, my analysis to it is that a white person needs to give a black person nothing. A black person needs to stand up and get he or her creativity going. I'm from South Africa. You are from America. You are from the United Kingdom. I know the body to the core. What do you know in health and well-being? I'm very aware on the spiritual elements of life. What do you have? Why don't we call each other and collectively start being creative instead of relying? The moment we say white people have to give us, and I'm talking more on, I've spoken about two. I've spoken about wedding, which has no meaning to me at all, and it might have meaning to you. And because of wedding, such as monkeys and niggers and etc., when they say to you, you can be triggered. Having being proud as I am, I do not want to be put as a charity. I do not want someone to come to me and believe that because of they have given me food a little bit, now they own me. They own me because of they have given me something. I can be able to give myself my own food. My own problem is that my community believes that white people can give them jobs. If that finishes, racism can never affect you when it comes to have or not have. Create your have. And we've got a power to do that. We've got extra energy. We are given more muscles. We are big. I remember one day this white sister saying, it's always amazing when you see black women walking on the street. They look bigger, not fat. I'm not talking about fat, but they've got this giant. They look like giants, and that's a fact. We are giants. We are born with this gigantic spirit. We are born with so much. We've got so much power naturally. If we get that together and stop asking for jobs, like saying our kids are going to university, and it will be said when they finish universities, some of them will not get the jobs because a white man has a right to give his kids or his women and his men jobs. Create your own. Have or not have has to start from our thinking. Education system. Now that's number 3. This is my observation in this Black Lives Matters. Our own systematically mental illness. We are the keeper of the white man's education. We judge each other on our accents. We judge each other on how well one speaks English. We judge each other on how well one speaks Dutch. We judge each other on how well one speaks, all these languages. But we are not the keepers of our own languages back home. Now, if you have been to Yale University, or you have been to Harvard University, or you have been to Oxford, I have hung around with these dudes. The first thing that they ask you, what university have you went to, or which school have you have you attended? And from that moment, the measurement and the keepers, the bodyguards of a white man's education comes in a black faces and black women. And some of them have even guts to say, I can only resonate or become connected with a woman who writes English better. The moment I look at their grammatic writing and I realize that there's errors there, that woman, she's not of my standard. And I always wonder, which is one of the African languages that you can judge my lack of standard in, away from French, away from Italian, Spanish, Dutch, German, whatever, which are these African languages where we are very proud of and say, if you can write this language better as an African, I then judge you on your low standard or high standard. So education is again a powerful systematic system for the white people, and it serves them very well. There, I take off my hat for them. I don't see it as racism. I see it as very intelligent people who have created a system that was going to work for them. And then they took that systematic and they created it as a, how do you say it, as a copy and paste, as a template. You see today most of the black kids, they when they go to school, they are learning Western world education, and we did that willingly. Yes, you might talk about in times of slavery. You might talk about in times of apartheid. We're not living in those times, but quickly we can find ourselves back trapped into those times because we are not proud with our languages. We are not proud with our spiritual knowledge. We are not proud with our indigenous knowledges. So we rely on a Western world's education. And most of us, we are actually the keepers of that education. We are the keepers of the fashion statement of the Western world. We judge our brothers and sisters in terms of hanging around with them on how well they master the European system of fashion, you know. So this I call it, this it's not on the white man. This systematical illness, it's mainly on the black people. Because you have to realize if you rely on this on the education of the Western world, you are vulnerable. You don't have your own. And at the age of 49, I remember when I was a little girl and I was very, very happy, and I'm still happy, looking forward to go to Africa so I can shine even more because of having to be in the world for since 2000 since 2002. I have learned a lot about the world, and I've learned a lot about black people. I've learned a lot about things because I'm a researcher. I research, but I research on a mental state. I like to research the mental state of humans. I like to research the reasoning of a human. And I realized that our reasoning has always been something that was our back enemy, like a backstepping knife that always made us feel weak and weak and weak. Because of if you do not have your own educational system, to those who are somewhere somehow identified as educators, creators, those who create education, they think they own you. They think they own your mind. They think they own your secret interest. They think they and that was something that has made me, and I think on this side I'm a little bit powerful. I'm talking about collective minds though around education as black people. I was never intrigued with the Western world education, never. And even today, it does not intrigue me whatsoever, because from the early age, I came from a family that was very strong. The motto of my family was, study what happens in the backyards of your own home. My family were medicinals. They were medicinals. They were inyanga, They were medicinal men. My family were very spiritual aware, and my family were fascinated with the essence of the body. That was something that I grew up with. And when my great grandma would go, my great grandpa would go to the field to pick up the medicine for teeth when we had toothache. I wanted to know what kind of medicine was that. Some of them, they looked like watermelon, small. And when you took them and took them in your mouth would die for a day or two. But when you wake up, the toothache would be gone. In my life, I have only lost one teeth because I relied on that. And for me, that was like, wow, this is amazing. When we had headaches, my great grandpa would go to the field and teach me what kind of medicine to take. I saw when I was a little girl young men, when they were 10, when they turned 17, 16, 18, their job from the age of 15 until 18 was to go hunt snakes in the field and bring the snakes. And my great grandpa would then take the ashes of the, they used to smoke those pipes. I don't know what you call them. And they used to put tobacco in it. And they will take tobacco and take milk and mix it. And then take that tobacco and milk and go and do tracing for the snake, to find the warmth and to find where the snake has been moving and how many minutes or days was the snake there. And they'll find snakes, and then they'll take this tobacco with milk and put it around where the snake was. And I used to see that because sometimes guys, this young man would call women, will call young women to come and see when they do this. So this was education for me. This was my university. And when they get a snake, they'll take the snake and they'll put mirror next to the snake, and the snake will bite the mirror, thinking that it was another snake. And what was important at that moment, it was that golden liquid that came from a snake, and they will take that golden liquid and they'll mix it with some herbs, so that if there's a wound, if there's a burning wound in the family, that will be used as medicine. If there's acne, that will be. So this for me was very rich. Moving away from the medicinal side of things, which was my great grandmom, my great grandpa, I had my great grandmom who understood the essence of peace, the essence of becoming who you are. My great grandmom was very informed about political issues. She spoke about lots of things. She taught me about lots of things about World War One, World War Two, because she died at the age of 112 or 14, if I'm not, I don't remember very well, but she was around that age. So she died when she was very old. And she always said to me, Carol, stand high, look high. Never, ever, ever strive in your life to understand the education of somebody. What you are going to go to the world with, you will go to the world with our education. You'll go to the world just as an African queen as you are, and stay proud and always remember your body is your temple. Make people wonder who you are. Don't sell yourself cheap and never bow for anyone. And remember, you're an African queen. They will ask you about different kinds of educations. Just tell them about this education. It's easier to explain. It is something that you have lived in. It is something that you have experienced. Now, coming out from that kind of rich mental stability, not mental illness, I then started meeting with these people who I call the keepers of the Western world education, and they did whatever in their power to try to challenge me with my education. And that never worked, because I realized that I was very, very strongly enforced. I was designed to the core of who I am. I was designed to the core of me being an African, and just understanding that you are okay just as you are. That's why around Europe today, I decided that I was going to preserve my education. I decided I was not going to go into this system of trying to make me feel like we need what you have, and after that you are nothing. That didn't work, because of the education and the words of my great grandmom, and the education of my great grandpa, making me understand that nature gives everything that we want. So education of the Western world was not something for me to be a keeper of it. Education of the Western world, I was not suddenly in a mental, systematically mental illness when it comes to education. And most of the Black people now, those who you call yourself educated, with your highest doctoring degrees, and you've got the certificates to showcase. For me, you are the puppets of the Western world. And that's and when you walk around in the world, you hear it, you see it, you see that we are doing our level best to be like the Western world, because we believe that the fact that you have studied from Harvard, you somewhere somehow understand the mindset of a white man because of you obtain what he obtains, but you do not obtain originality. So for me, the downfall of the black community, that's why they suffer with the systematic racism in the world. It is because of most of us, we do not value our own educational system. We are not the keepers of our own languages. And when we meet together, we compete in a Western world systematic of reasoning. We compete in a systematic way of the Western world. And when we can compete and speak and kumsha in a way that a white man does it the best, so we are classified as the wise ones. We are classified as the classy one. We are classified as the elites of the fewer chosen blacks. So when you talk about this Black Lives Matters, it's very important to ask yourself where it is your systematically illness around this Black Lives Matters that keeps you in prison. My prison in the systematical racial, you know, inequality system, it is the belief that they have or not have. That's something that I have to work on. I have succeeded in terms of wording. I realize words are weak. If you come and tell me your words, it does not affect me. If you come and tell me your energy vampirism, because sometimes you can go to these restaurants and immediately as you enter as a black person, whoever who's going to serve you, if they're not black, they send you this energy vampires. It's how do I call it? Vampire energy vampire, where they systematically create chemicals that they send to you to make you feel discomfort. That it's something that I'm still trying to deal with. Education system of the Western world does not affect me even a bit. It doesn't matter who speaks about it and how they speak about it, because I'm well rooted into the education of my heritage, which is being an African. Now, number 4, under the systematic of racism, it's politics. Politics. Everything that we see around politics, we don't know where politics come from. We are not political. We are the communicators. We are the emotional ones. We feel things. We communicate through dreams. Our politicalness, it's the power to be connected with the resonation of the energy of the world. When something is going to happen to me, that's going to be very important for the next day. It gets brought into my dreams. Everybody says that. Everybody say, Carol, oh, not only the black people dream, everybody dreams. I say yes, but I say for me, as a black person, as a black daughter, as a black child, I was always told that there are 3 different dreams that comes in your life that are very, very. There are thousands of dreams, but for you to be able to identify your dreams, they are analyzed in 3 categories. And I'm not going to explain this unless if you come into my course one day and we talk about things, and then I will tell you. So every day as I live, my political system, it's my power to communicate with the unseen world, which is my ancestral. And my ancestral comes via the dreams. So politics, for me, it means nothing. When someone say democracy, be aware, you black person, democracy, it's not line up for you at all. Politics that you see in Africa. Africa was the kingdom land. That's when the kingdom world began. When you walk around Europe and you see monuments of the, what do you call that, of this call, what do you call them again, the the castles, and you see lion used as a face of Europe. I tend to laugh. I tend to look at it because of for me being an African, it's more than just the discussions or the deeds of the day. It runs very deep being an African. We are observers. And when you observe, it's important that we stop observing as victims. And it's important to start observing in knowing ourselves that white people, they've got a right to be. But we need to also remember we need to go back to our roots. And our roots, it's just simple things that we do on a daily basis. It's just simplicity of how we look at each other. Now, when you look at Europe, like for example, I have lived in the United Kingdom. I always wanted to do that. And for me, living in the United Kingdom was to understand what has made the United Kingdom so powerfully acknowledged by the continent Africa. And getting there, I went there not to just interact and have friends and blah 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 blah. Of course, everything that I do, lots of people are not aware of my intelligence. Not lots of people are not aware of who I am because of I normally really play gullible because my great grandmom has said to me that when you play gullible and stupid, that's when you get to understand the mind of the one who's next to you, because the most people can only open themselves up fully when you play foolish, and then they surrender their defense mask. And often I play very fool. I play like a fool, the one who's not so intelligent. I play, and I'm not saying that I'm intelligent, but I'm just saying that when you meet me next time and you talk to me, you can never identify me because of I understand how to twist myself and tweak myself to get to understand what's going on. And having to be in Europe and seeing how things are layered, well, looking at the structural of, because for me, politics and religions are very, 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 very much so related. Now, the first thing that I saw was the big lion that's standing next to these monuments of Europe. We call, what do you call them again? The I just mentioned it earlier. These big structures of their homes, and that was for me. It was like lion. I saw the image of me, and that was already enough. The bling blings that are happening on a daily around the world around politics, where you've got this, cars, and then there's the streets are closed, and or sometimes you've got this royalty where the streets are closed and they wear these colors, and then they've got this medals that are given to people, medals of honor and etc. I realize that this is just really a theater of the day, a theater of the days of the deeds. And I realized that European system or the Western world system creates theatrically systems, and they are very good at it. And that it's not a downfall, though. If you are listening and you're a white guy or you're a white woman, this is your strength of preserving what you call your own culture. It's preserving and showing people your pride. And you do it in color, what you have done, and and this is also something very fascinating, you people, those who are busy with being scarred by racism. Study racism, analyze racism, analyze the skeleton movements, analyze the deeds of the day. Because when you analyze the deeds of the day, you get to understand a lot, and you really, really get to free your own movement. At this present moment, wherever I am, I can't wait to go to Africa because I've done my study, and it's time for me to go back and share my studies. And even when I came to Europe, I was already very, very advanced because I work with my great grandpa and I work with my great great grandma. Education system, that was my best university. And the world, so-called well education, it is zero to my appreciation. Zero. I give a damn about world's education. I'm non educated by the world point of view, and proudly non educated. And I'm highly, highly, highly educated by my heritage, by connecting with my ancestral. And I realized that for us to start really singing about the Black Lives Matter, we sing it to the wrong ears. It's not a story of a white man to give us our life matter. It's us. When you sing Black Lives Matters at this moment, look how much you are attacked by the angry side of, by the small part of this system, the angry ones. The angry ones are the smaller, very, very small part of this big thing we call systematic racism. If someone insult me and show me an anger and has a gun, want to kill me, that person is a very, very small part in this, because that person does not even enjoy the full wealth of so-called the Western world systematic of navigating this world freely for themselves. So that is zero. For me, what is important is religion and politics and self-awareness, understanding that as a Black person, nobody can identify who you are. You wear a face that is very, very, very uniquely as you walk in this planet. And this is not competition to anyone. This is not competition. It's not something to complain about. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are. So for me, these are my observation about this so-called systematically illness or madness. It is we identifying who we are and claiming the right of the education of our ancestors and forefathers, so we can be able to go back and teach our kids about our educational system that was given to us. Lucky I had a chance to get the education from the co-founders of my existence, which was my great grand and my great grandpa. So these are the people who have brought people like me and people like my father to the world, and people like the father of my father to the world. And this is where I got my education. And I'm saying I walk to the world very proud. And I say Black Lives Matters. I already knew that Black Lives Matter. Now, when you go to the angry person who is already minimized in their own world, when someone say white pride, the one who's a white pride does not sing about white pride, because they already know that they are proud. The one who comes to you and sing about white pride and white pureness, they are actually saying, I wish I could be more pure. And by fighting to say white power, I'll get more powerful. And you start panicking around that. You have to start asking yourself, what do we mean when we say Black Lives Matters? What does that mean? For me, Black Lives Matter, it is re-educating yourself and redesigning yourself as Black people around the world. Because now this is going to be a little bit long, this focus, because I've got a lot to say today, and all that I have to say is my observation around since 2020 around this the racist issues that has been going around. And so leave politics; they are not yours. It's a copy and paste. And it's copy and paste. It's always article 1, article. Everybody always tells me about articles in Europe. They always tell me about rules. I've signed in Europe. When I was in Africa, I have never signed any paper. Even when I was looking for a house, I never signed any paper. I started signing papers when I got to Europe, and it put me in trouble. I was in trouble. Even today, I'm still in trouble by signing those white papers, because there are so much of them, and each and every one they're written with articles. And as you sign as a Black person, you understand that you don't understand that you're signing the unknown. And as you're signing the unknown, that unknown, it gives you the essence of you becoming a part of the system. But that system, it's not designed for you, because you'll find that that article, as it's given to you, it's not the same article as it's given to the owners who are writing that articles. Those who are writing these constitutions. Constitutions don't work for us. And once we get to understand that, that's when we will understand that we've got a long way to go as Black Lives Matters. Now, as you're from America, and now this addressed to the Black people. in general. When you're sitting in the United Kingdom and think that you're better than I because you were born in the United Kingdom, you're not, because you're still dealing with articles. You're dealing with constitutions. You're dealing with the unfairness. What you are experiencing, I experience less as an African, because as an African, I belong. I've got a home that I'm fighting the occupier who have occupied Africa forcefully, but he has no power because that's my land. Now, it is important for us to start seeing each other as one. Learn from me as I come from Africa. Teach me as you are an African born in the system. Teach me about what it is that I need to be aware. Warn me. Don't mock me. Don't judge me. So there is lots of things around this Black Lives Matter that needs to be presented to the Black people themselves. And I say, white people, do what you do. Do your anger of wedding. Insult to make you feel better about yourself. Call me a monkey. I'll take it. Make me feel like I don't belong. I'll take it. Make me feel like they have and not have. I'll take it. Create your constitutions. I'm not a part of your constitution. Only if I live in your land, I'll be a part of that constitution part-time. But your constitution does not serve me, and it will never serve me as a Black person, because I'm Black. I've got my own constitution. Your education system does not really define me. It defines your generations and generation to come. Keep on designing your information so that your generation can come and find it intact, so that they can understand from the Roman times to the Julius Caesar time to the Macbeth to whoever. You're always designing, and that serves you. That's for you. And I'm really, really proud that you've got the power to do that. I now, on the other hand, as a Black person, you can never enforce your constitution to me because it's foreign to me. And this is what I understand about the political system. The political system does not serve me. And I can cry and keep on saying that they need to change the constitution, sign contracts. As Noah has said, as Trevor Manuel has said, we all signed a contract for the society, the layers of society, that I sign a contract so that you can look after me. But that contract does not serve a Black person, and it will never serve the Black person. It actually, when the Black person sign the constitutional of the Western politics, they're actually signing and selling their soul to something that they can never understand or define whatsoever. For me, this is what I understand about Black Lives Matter, what we need to do. And we are not fighting. I'm not saying these things to fight the Western world, not at all. I hope you don't get this thing wrong. I am explaining as a Black person what I see that needs to be understood in Black Lives Matter as Africans, what we need as Black people. I don't even know how to say Black. When I say Black, I see it in color, and I'm thinking it's a colorful thing that the Western world use to create their theatrically deeds of the day, and then yet they bring color to define what's beautiful and what's not. So you have to really think everything is hypnosis. Words are hypnosis. Words they build. While they build, they can also destroy. How much are we embedded in words of the Western world? Isn't that high time that we start creating our own words? Isn't that high time that we start wearing our own clothes that are designed by us? I see the presidentials of Africa coming into Europe, even to buy wedding rings, whereby the diamonds are taken out of Africa, and an African woman who's the daughter is about to marry leaves Africa and to come to buy a ring in Europe. That's how screwed up the African lack of self-esteem and lack of self-love for yourselves has created. So the Black Lives Matter for me, it's understanding how to acquire back self-love for ourselves. So this is Carol Matebula saying, these are all my research at this present moment. You can share your views on what you think of me. It might sound very harsh somehow when you're listening to these things. What I'm saying is that it is highly, highly important that African people, wherever you are in the world, as long as you have woolly hair, you are liquid brown, somewhere, somehow, you're descendant from Africa. Africa is your land. That's where you are created. And wherever you are, do not minimize each other. Highly, highly start respecting your power that you own. Start creating your education. Start leave white people alone to do what they do best, which is looking after themselves. Let them call you names. Just kill the meaning of these names within ourselves. Let's meditate to start killing the meanings and recreate our own meanings. So when they say that, you know that it does not matter because of you have replaced the negative meaning with something very positive that they don't even know what that is. Secrecy to self-discovery. It is for me the most important thing around this Black Lives Matter. Now, this is Carol Matebula sharing her thoughts every day around these issues because are very dearly to me. One love all, Carol Matebula here.